So, hi, hello everyone. Welcome to Sellers 2020. So, I'm
quite lonely talking into the computer screen. So any feedback that you've got, any questions, any thoughts, any comments, any suggestions, please feel free to put into the chat box. If I don't catch the questions, maybe Padley will kind of monitor as well, and he will draw to my attention at any relevant points. I've got 2 polls for you throughout the session, and I'd love to hear what your experiences have been for the last, what is it, 8 or 9 months of doing remote learning. And there may be technical calibration pause. That means I might stop while I'm trying to figure out how to use the technology. It's just a few big words, but you'll have to bear with me because sometimes I've got like 2 or 3 screens going on. And finally, there's a chance to win some surprise gifts. And I'm going to be asking one question on the content of my talk. So encouraging you to pay attention, make notes if you want to, but hopefully you'll find the topic and the content interesting enough that you're going to naturally learn it anyway. So that's my challenge, to make it engaging for you. So a bit about me. I'm the head of LeapEd Academy. I'm not sure if you've heard of LeapEd before, but I'll talk a little bit about LeapEd in a second. Basically, my job right now is to support teacher professional development in all across the board, in private and international schools and also in government schools. And we have a range of different programs covering all kinds of topics. Everything that you can think of in pedagogy is what we do. So I've been working at LeapEd for 3 years. Before that, I've been an English language teacher for the last 20 years now, I guess. So I believe my audience is English language teachers as well. So we are of the same background. When I started at LeapEd, I was doing program design and development, and that included one particular program which I loved working on, which was about PIBG engagement. So getting parents to support the learning aims of the school and also the school strategy. I am also very interested in community building. I really see the value of building communities, if it's educators or students or different school networks. I know that there's a lot of value in sharing ideas with people you don't normally work with. So over the last 6 to 8 months, in LeapEd, we've been building a community of teachers online where we share teaching ideas, where we share good practice and things like that. I'll share more details with you on that at the end. I am an adult learning specialist, so I've read so many different theories on adult learning and what works and what doesn't work in getting adults to apply new skills. And my particular interest is in behavioral psychology. This is kind of behavioral science as well. What that means is, what is the psychology of getting people to change their behavior? How can you influence people to change their behavior, to create positive habits and also change that sticks, change that lasts? So that's a bit about me. Let me just very quickly tell you about LeapEd. I'm not sure if you've heard of LeapEd. Our flagship program is the Trust Schools program, or otherwise known as Sekolah Amanah. Anyone heard of Sekolah Amanah? Yeah. And we do actually have some trust schools in Sarawak. These are the trust schools that we have around the country. We've got 15 trust schools in Sarawak, and here's 13 of them. I don't know the names of the other 2. I couldn't find them. Maybe we have some teachers from these schools in here. If you're from one of these schools, put something in the chat box. It'd be lovely to hear from you. Basically, yeah, so we do trust schools, but we also do district transformation projects as well. So trying to work with SISC Plus and PPDs and JPNs across the country. basically, Leaphead has been doing this for the last 10 years, and these are the people that we've impacted. So over 70,000 students and 160 schools, 6,000 teachers. So we're quite well versed in doing education development programs around the country. So that's enough about me. I'd like to know about you. Who am I talking to right now? So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do this. It's very, very straightforward. In the chat box, please can you write your name, the age of the students that you teach, if it's primary or secondary, and how you are currently doing remote learning. Are you using WhatsApp? Are you using Google Meet? Are you using Zoom? Are you delivering worksheets? What are you doing? Or if you're not doing remote learning now, what have you been doing? So I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Please type your answer in the chat box. So Mala says that she was in SMK Muara Tuan when the Trust School program was first introduced. I hope it was useful for you, Mala. Please say yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, good. Are you still there now, Mala?
It was very useful, and the program actually worked in Moratuan.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that
Can you hear me?
I think they finished their 5th year now, right? Oh, hi, you're back, Mala.
Yes. Yeah, I was there for the first 2 years, and I felt that it was a very good program, and the students there especially benefited. The workload was really something else, but at the end of the line, the students really benefited.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Mala. Okay, I'm going to read out some of who we've got here. We've got Rahima from SMK Petrojaya. She's teaching Form 4 and 5 using Google Meet and Google Classroom. Then we've got Siti Zulaika. She's teaching ages 7 to 12 using worksheets as the school is in a rural area. Then we've got Kimberly teaching 7 to 9 years old using Telegram, Google Classroom. And Kimberly also taught in SK Nyut Kota Samarahan. I hope you enjoyed the experience there as well, Kimberly. Then we've got Liu Pikha teaching Form 4 to 6 using Google Classroom and Google Meet. And Mila, Form 4 and 5 students using live worksheets and Telegram. Okay, I'm not going to be able to read through you all. But what I can see is that we have a strong preference for Google tools, which is Google Classroom, Google Meet. All teachers have their Google account from the Ministry of Education, so that's probably why. Interesting that some people are using quizzes as well and other apps to support, including WhatsApp. I know WhatsApp has been the communication tool of choice for my children's school. Okay, so thank you for sharing. I know a bit more about you now, and let me kind of move on into the talk itself. So this is the traditional classroom. So we have the teacher standing at the front or rotating around and sharing their ideas and the learning directly with the students. So the hope is that the students will get the idea, understand the learning, practice the objectives or whatever it is for the class. And that's very traditional way of teaching. Teacher to student, you can control what goes into the student's head and then help them to practice that skill. So of course, with the CMCO or MCO COVID, this changed a bit. So it's no longer the teacher directly to the students. It's now, and it has been, the teacher to the parent. And these parents, quite often very busy, and they have to do their work from home as well. And also we have to communicate through technology. So the students, they get an idea, but we don't know what idea it's getting into their head. We don't have that control that we normally have in a classroom of getting our ideas into their head directly. Now we have to go through the parents if they're younger children, or through technology if they're older children, and even if they're older children, through parents as well. I'll explain a bit more about that later. So this has changed basically, and this is an extra layer, an extra barrier of communication. So what is the question? Why is this important to talk about? So this extra layer to the communication means that we don't control precisely what gets into the children's head, and we can't easily assess whether they have learnt what we want to teach, especially if we're teaching via WhatsApp or if we're teaching on Google Classrooms. This means that some kids are not getting the complete message. They're not getting what we want them to get. Busy parents are not aware of their child's engagement in learning. I'm going to tell you a story from literally 1 hour ago. I was preparing for this talk, and I went into my daughter's bedroom. She was supposed to be doing her BM class, which she failed this year, by the way. Terrible. I wasn't very happy. Anyway, so I told her that, you really need to practice your BM. So I went in there 1 hour ago, and she had her headphones on, and she had the class on, but she was watching Netflix at the same time. She's 7 years old. I wasn't very happy. So this is a real story, happened just 1 hour ago. So I wasn't aware, and I couldn't control what she was doing on the class. And that's the same for the teachers as well. So these are the kinds of challenges that we have. So the onus for learning has actually shifted to the parent. The parents now have a much bigger role in trying to get the children to learn. Most parents before lockdown were happy to send their children to school. That's the school's responsibility. They're the ones who are responsible for education. But now that the shift of learning has come onto the parents, and a lot of parents don't know what to do. And a lot of parents need the support. And if they don't know what to do, it's easy for them to ignore learning. So what I want to do today is show you some ways of making it easy for the parents and to give them the support that they need. Because also our roles as a teacher has expanded, not just towards the children, but also towards the parents as well. So I want you to think about the children who you had in your class who were struggling before lockdown. So there's always going to be a significant number of students who cannot access the curriculum. For example, in English, if English is not spoken at home, then those students are usually the ones who kind of fall behind in the English classes. So, this would begin in year 1, and then it just gradually gets, they get further and further away from the curriculum as they go through education. So now that they're at home, these children are going to be even further behind. And I know you're all aware of this. This is very kind of common knowledge. So these children they had a significant burden at the beginning of lockdown, and that's become even more challenging for them as lockdown has gone on. The parents who are usually engaged, my assumption is that these parents do support learning at home already. So we're not really worried about those children. It's the other children where the parents are not engaged and the ones who are not accessing the curriculum. These are the children we really need to focus on. Obviously, they're going to be falling further and further behind in English. I can tell you my own daughters. I told you my daughter failed BM this year, and that's because she hasn't been accessing it in the classroom. She goes and watches Netflix while she's supposed to be learning BM. If she was in school, she would still be practicing BM, but she's not in school, so she's not doing that. And I can't really support her because my BM is really bad, to be honest. Okay, so these students, when they get back to school, they're going to find it so challenging to keep up with the English curriculum. And, we don't want them to fade away and disappear. So it's really important that we focus on these parents for these students to help them to continue to learn English through lockdown. Okay, I'm going to quickly share with you some news stories. These ones are from earlier in the year. And then I'm going to ask you a question. So back in April, there was this news story. I think this is in the Star. More than half of students are not tuning into online classes. So that's about 50%. And this one, fewer than half of students are participating in online learning. And this one, 50% are not accessing any kind of learning. So these numbers are quite significant. Half of our children are not learning anything. These news articles are a bit more recent, and these are about parents. So the added responsibilities will be in engaging the parents to oversee the children's studies. I think this is often overlooked. I think that the teachers and parents as well are still in a traditional mindset. It's the teacher's responsibility to teach the children. But actually we need to shift a bit. We need to consider parents in this equation, because they're the ones who are overseeing the children's learning. Another consideration, it's not easy for parents to supervise their children, especially if they're working from home and have a number of children whose online classes they have to manage. My own experience, I'll share with you later. It's been very, very hard. And I'll give you some more details in a short while about this, but I'm sure you're aware, and maybe some of you are parents as well. 80% of them stated their main challenge is to ensure the presence of students during the class. Make sure they're not watching Netflix when they should be studying BM, for example. And even to make sure that they actually log in at the right time if they're supposed to be doing something there, or even to make sure they log into Google Classroom. Doesn't have to be at one time, but to make sure they log in to do the work or to see the work they need to do. The inability to focus and maintain self-discipline. This self-discipline is very key for remote learning. In the classroom, we can control that. We can scaffold the children's learning experience. We take them through the stages of a lesson. At home, the child has to motivate themselves. If they can't motivate themselves, the parent has to motivate the child to do the learning. Everything's changed. So parents were advised to step up and be more involved in their children's education. So you can see this is all from like local news sources. People are becoming more and more aware of the depth and importance of parent engagement in the child's learning. And this is for all subjects as well. So what I want to know is, I'm going to share a poll with you right now. And I'd like to know what your experience is. What percentage of your students are? These are my children. This is Molly and Frank. This picture was taken back in March when they were when the lockdown first came in, and in KL, I live in KL. We had the army on the streets to make sure that people weren't going out. And my children wanted to help the army, so they put on their army costumes. They got their guns. They were getting ready to go out, but then I reminded them they're not allowed out either, so they had to stay at home. So I've got two kids. Molly's 7, Frank is 5. I would say that my parenting is quite liberal. What I mean by that is, from day one, I wanted to get my children to be independent with their remote learning. I've been teaching them the routines, how to set up on the computer, how to log in, how to set an alarm to remind you to do your class, how to prepare your books for the lesson, how to check your homework from the previous lesson. The reason for that is quite selfish. I didn't want to do it every single day. I wanted them to do it, take responsibility for it. That worked for quite a long time, but as we heard today, my eldest has been watching Netflix when she's supposed to be doing classes, so that's not good. So it works and it doesn't work. They've learned new skills that they wouldn't have had to learn before. For me personally, it's been a lot to juggle. I don't know what your experience is, but my workload seems to have doubled since the beginning of the year. So on top of that, with monitoring the children's education, it's been a lot. And I think that a lot of parents are feeling this as well. There's no boundary between work and home. We just work all hours of the day. And like next week, I'm supposed to be on leave, but I think I'm calling it stay instead of leave, because I'm just staying at home. Right, so this is Frank. Let me tell you a bit more about Frank. He's got a nappy on his head. I'm not sure why. He's a bit of a strange boy. He doesn't take after me. So this is a WhatsApp message that I received from his kindergarten. So a bit of background. There's 3 WhatsApp groups for Frank's kindergarten. There's the one where for the parents, there's one for the learning, and there's I don't know what, some other WhatsApp where teachers just share random information. So first of all, at the beginning of the year, we were receiving hundreds of WhatsApp messages in a week to do with Frank's schooling. It's calmed down a lot now because they've got a bit better. But this is an example of the kind of message I received. I've got a question for you. What is this about? This WhatsApp message? Can anyone see? Put your answer in the chat box if you can tell me what is the topic of this. Any ideas? Can you see my screen, by the way?
We can't see your question actually.
Oh, you can't see my screen?
Yes, but the question doesn't appear.
Well, I haven't put a question up. I'm asking you what is the subject of this email, of this WhatsApp message. It's an announcement, yes. No topic, exactly. Yeah, so when I got this message, I had to work very, very hard to decipher what is this about. And you can see at the bottom, it's actually about a Taekwondo class. You see, that's how I felt as well. When I'm receiving this in a bunch of 100 messages every day, this is actually giving me a headache to try and figure out what they want me to do. So that's number one. It's not signaled to me very clearly. Look at this as well. This is a Taekwondo class. Remember, Frank is 5 years old. 5:30 to 7:30. A 2-hour Taekwondo class on Zoom. Do you think that's a good idea? I can tell you that Frank's attention span is not 2 hours. He will be wandering off within 20 minutes. So that's number 2. And then look at the time that this was sent as well. I don't know if you can see it, 5:16. So the class starts in 14 minutes. So I'm supposed to stop what I'm doing, go and get Frank in his Taekwondo outfit, get him in front of Zoom, make sure he sits there for 2 hours and does it. It's just not going to work. So you can be sure that Frank did not go to that class. So this is one kind of example of how our communication with parents has a very large impact on whether the children actually get to access the learning. I'll give you another example as well. This is a very common kind of message I received. This is just an example. Hello everyone, below are lessons from Friday 11th of December. Complete words, English worksheet, join dots, paste eggshells to hem picture with feathers. Don't forget gym class. Okay, first of all, what words? Complete what words? I didn't sit in Frank's class. I don't know what words the teacher is talking about. English worksheet. What worksheet? He has about 50 of them. So this means that at the beginning of every class, I need to go to Frank's. Someone talking? Yes, at the beginning of every class, I need to go to Frank's class to figure out which worksheet the teacher is talking about. But the thing that really irritated me about this message was paste eggshells to hen picture with feathers. I don't have feathers at home. Do you have feathers at home? I don't mind to go and buy feathers, but please give me some notice. This is like, maybe I received this message the day before, so I had to figure out where to get feathers from. I had to collect eggshells. And when I'm receiving hundreds of WhatsApp messages for my son and thousands of WhatsApp messages for my work and my email, this is not going to happen. And I can tell you, this didn't happen. I didn't get any feathers for Frank. I didn't get any eggshells for him. So he missed out on that class. As you can see, I'm quite passionate about this because it makes me a little bit angry when teachers can't think about how the parent feels or the parent's experience when they're communicating. So let me just summarize what would help. Please make sure that your titles and the subjects for your messages are very clear. Make sure that the timings are realistic as well. 2 hours for a 5-year-old is just not realistic. We need to adjust our expectations of what can happen in the class. What you plan to do in your classroom with your children cannot happen during remote learning. We need to reduce our expectations. It's not possible to do everything in the curriculum. Things have changed, as you know. Think about what is the best time to message the parents or the children or the students. It can be for secondary students as well. And when you decide on a time, try and stick to that same time on a daily basis. We have routines in classrooms, right? Let's have routines in our communication as well. It makes everything so much easier for parents. I am expecting your message at the same time every day. It's not a surprise. Let's have specific references. Let's not just say complete words or English worksheet. Which worksheet? Which words? Tell me what you want me to do. Make it easy for me. Otherwise, it won't get done. And summaries like this here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is really good. Putting numbers and bullet points is very, very useful for reading. But it's just a shame that the specific references weren't there. Okay, so that's Frank's kindergarten. Let me tell you about Molly now and Molly's school. So this is Molly last year on Halloween. She was dressed up as a witch. So Molly's is a bit different. It's a bit more organized. She's in year 1 and her school has a learning management system called Schoology. So this is Schoology. And it's actually very good, but it took me quite some time to figure out how to use it. And the school didn't support parents in figuring it out. We were just expected to know. So anyway, that's months ago. Now we know it. It's working well. Molly's an independent learner, apart from Netflix, and things are going quite well. But let me show you some communication from the teachers to Molly. Now, remember, she's 7 years old. She's in year 1. And this was from her English teacher. So first of all, this is a summary of the lesson. That's a lot of text for a 7-year-old to read, isn't it? Compare this to the English language textbook that year 1 students have. Look at the language that's being used. Multiple choice questions. I would say that the majority of 7-year-olds in Malaysia have no idea what that means. Point form questions. I would say not only the majority of students 7 years old don't know what that means, I don't know what that means. And I'm an English language teacher. Subjective questions. Again, no idea. Opinion questions, no idea. So, number 1, please write to if you're writing to the students, this one is for Molly, please use child appropriate language. If you're writing for the parents, don't assume that the parents will know what you're talking about because they probably won't. And if they read this, do you think that this is going to get done? It's definitely not. It's not easy for me to do for Molly. Molly's lucky. Her dad is a teacher, so I have the tools to help these lessons come to life. But most parents do not. So please consider who are you writing to and use the appropriate language and also the appropriate expectations for the parents' understanding. Another example here, this is a kind of general one. It's been some time since you practiced handwriting. So the teacher wants Molly to practice handwriting. Okay, the reason I put a question mark here is it seems quite boring for Molly. So she can practice handwriting. She can open her book to page 13 and copy things down. But this is an opportunity for Molly to do something that means something to her. Why can't she practice her handwriting by writing a thank you letter to Daddy for letting her watch Netflix? Something like that. Something more personal for her. Something that has meaning to her. You know, just because it's in the textbook, we don't have to use that textbook. We can use the idea and make it personal for Molly. This one here, this is about science. Finally, open your science super skills exercise book. It doesn't actually say why though. Why does that teacher want me to open that science super skills exercise book? What do they want me to learn from it? What's the intention? What do they want Molly to learn from this? Also look at the language as well. This is addressed to students. Remember, these students, Molly's only just learned how to read. Lots of year 1 students actually English is their second language. They'll have no idea how to read this. So how are they actually going to do the work? For any inquiry, do not hesitate to ask me through a comment or direct message. Molly's not going to understand the polite forms of email writing. That's not going to be until secondary school. So let's not write using that language. Okay, I think you get my point. So let's be clear about what you want to happen as a result of your message. Remember your objectives. What are your objectives? What do you want the student to do? What do you want the parent to do? Be conscious of overwhelming parents and kids. I'm going to go back to this one because this is overwhelming for a 7-year-old and for a parent as well. It's too much text. Give a reason why you want the kids to do something. If they can understand why you want them to do it, there's a much higher chance that they will do it and that the parents will understand what you're talking about as well. And try and personalize the messages and activities where you can. Get Molly to write a thank you letter to her dad. Okay. I've got another poll for you. So not all parents engage with messages. Is that really my problem? You can also think of this question as not all students engage with messages. Is that really my problem? Okay, so I'm going to share a poll with you and I want. Oh yes, thank you, Fadli. So not all parents engage with messages. Is that really my problem? Yes, absolutely. We need to work with parents. Not really. Parents need to be proactive. Not at all. How can I control what parents read and don't read? What are your thoughts on this? I want to know what you think. Is there another poll, Fadli? 21 votes. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to end the polling and I'll share the results with you. Okay, as you can see, I'm happy that 67% of you have said yes, we need to work with parents because that is the main topic of my talk today. 3 of you said not at all. How can I control what parents read and don't read? So I'm going to show you how you can control it or how you can improve the chances that the parents will read it and that they will act on it. And 6 of you are in the middle. Not really. Parents need to be proactive. So I think I kind of agree with that one as well. But we as teachers do need to put a bit more thought and effort into the way we communicate. Okay. Let me go back to my slides. You wouldn't buy it. Right? This is the same thing for communicating with parents. We need to make it very simple. Think about one-touch payment when you're communicating with parents. You won't go wrong. Then we've got A. A is about making it attractive. So this is attractive for the parents and attractive for the students. Make them want to do it. So personalize the messages wherever possible. Make the learning about that student. Tell the parents what their children are going to benefit from doing this. Make it fun, of course. That's a teacher's expertise. That's what we do. So this should be easy for you. And be creative as well. We don't always have to use page 13 of the handwriting book. Let's try and be a bit more creative and make it interesting for the children. S is for social. And this means people are very easily influenced by what everybody else is doing. So if I see that everybody else is supporting their children, I'm going to want to support my children as well. We follow, we're followers, we do herd mentality. So we can use that to our advantage when communicating with parents. If we say, thank you to the 75% of parents who helped their children with the homework, if I'm one of the parents who didn't help, I will feel left out. I'll be like, oh, I've got to help. It's a very powerful thing, and it will make those other 25% help their children as well. So I'm going to talk a bit more about social in a short while to give you a very clear understanding of what that is and how you can use it. Online groups, so you've all got Google Classrooms, you know, rewarding people who contribute in there, the students, that's a great way of doing it. Commitment to others, I'll talk about that in a short while. And collaborative learning, give the students lots of opportunities to work together. And then finally, T is about timely. So communicate at the right time for parents, not just for you. Parents probably don't want to receive WhatsApp messages at midnight. Neither do students as well. So make it consistent, like we said earlier. Find the right time and stick to that time. And try to give timely feedback on the students' work as well to keep them engaged. Okay, so that's the EAST model. Now remember this, because we're going to refer to this and I'm going to show you some examples. So you remember my message from earlier, from my son's teacher in kindergarten. Now, if we apply EAST to this, it's so much easier for me as a human being to actually do something with it. I'll show you what that might look like. So Taekwondo. Give your kids the chance to hang out with their friends on Zoom. Last week, we had 8 out of 11 of your classmates, 45 minutes, 6 till 6:45. We know you're busy during the day. Follow this link. Frank, we need you. Mummy and Daddy, we've sent, oh, sorry, spelling mistake. We sent a calendar invite to your email address. Please accept and let Microsoft remind you. Okay, let me show you how this has got EAST inside it. So we've made it easy. We've given it a title. I know what this is talking about. We've put social pressure on me as a dad. If I receive this message and I know that Frank was one of those 3 children who did not attend Taekwondo, I'll feel really guilty. And I will make sure that the very next class, he 100% attends Taekwondo. Because we want to follow, remember, we are, social pressure is a very powerful influencer. 45 minutes, much more manageable. This is making it easy for me. Personalization, this is making it attractive. Frank, we need you. I received this and oh, they've used Frank's name. I feel nice. And I'll make sure that he attends the next thing. And another way of making it easy, send a calendar invite so that I don't have to set my alarm. Outlook can remind me. What, you know, we can be creative in this. Now, another thing the teacher followed, I've seen this before in some of my son's WhatsApp groups, and this is an amazing tool. It works really well. If you put a list like this with only 10 spaces, people get scared that they're going to miss out and they rush to put their names on the list. And then once they've put their name on the list, they've made a public commitment to everyone else who's reading it. And that public commitment will make it extremely hard for them to not do it. So you should try this. Trust me, it really works. So first of all, you've got the fear of missing out, only 10 spaces. Then you've got the public commitment by writing the child's name. And I guarantee that 10 people will turn up for this Taekwondo class. I use this all of the time in my work, and I see really, really good results. People rush to put their name on the list. And then after they put their name, they're like, oh, I've got to do something now. But they've made the commitment, so they can't back out of it. Give it a try. Okay, I've got a question for you. And this is going to involve the chat box. There are 3 prizes for this, and the first 3 correct answers in the chat box will win these 3 prizes. And they will receive a surprise gift. Are you ready? Yes? Okay, here's the question. What does EAST stand for?
Easy.
Yes.
Attractive.
Yes.
Social and timely.
Who's that talking?
Vimala.
Okay, Mala. Unfortunately, you didn't follow the instructions.
All first 3 correct answers in the chat box.
The chat box. So I'm gonna have to, but thank you though. That you're absolutely right. It is easy, attractive, social, and timely. And our winners are Kimberly Lim. Congratulations. Then we've got Suk Ching. Fadli, do you need any more information? No? And then we've got Siti Zulaika. Oh, hold on, no, Siti Zulaika didn't get it correct. She put social,
I
easy,
got one
social,
wrong,
timely.
though.
Oh, bad luck, Siti. Attractive, easy, timely. Social. Then it's gonna go to Amelina.
Amelina, okay.
Okay, and then if there's any other extra prizes, maybe you can give one to Mala as well, because she was brave enough to speak out. So Fadli's going to write your name down as well, Mala. Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, you can still see my screen, right? It's going to happen. This is a perfect opportunity to build your parent community. I'm sure you've been doing that, but if you haven't, or even if you have, continue to do it. You'll never get an opportunity like this again. You can make them your #1 fans. Let them see how much effort and thought you're putting into their children, and they'll love you forever. And make it easy for them. They'll love you doubly forever. And I've got a challenge for you. How are you going to use these ideas? That's your challenge. Think about it. You can start easy, start small. Just start with EAST. Maybe next week, just do the easy part. The week after, try the attractive part. The week after that, try the social part. And then the timely, and then start thinking about motivation and ability. Remember, break down the complex goals, even in your own goals as well. If this seems like too much, break it down, make it easy for yourself. Okay, I have some feedback I'd like to get from you. I'm going to, let me see. I want to drop it in the chat box. Okay, I'll give you a second to scan the QR code. Oh, sorry. Has that gone? Stop sharing. So that is the end of my session. So I'm going to ask if any of you have any questions or thoughts or anything that you would like to share. I'm looking at the chat box here now. Have a nice cup of coffee, high motivation and easy. Yes, definitely. I'm going to do that straight after this, Patrick. Good idea. And Salby said social pressure. Yeah, public commitment. This stuff really works. Trust me, it's really good. And actually, if you look in a lot of the online platforms like Lazada or any holiday or travel, they put all of this stuff in there, all of this behavioral psychology. It's very common. Okay, any questions? No questions? No worries, Amelina. Give it a go. You'll find it much easier. Regarding social pressure, 10, 11, what happens to the 11th? The 11th, that's a very good question. That was just my example. So let's say if you were doing it in, let's say for example, in my son's kindergarten, not everybody does Taekwondo. So they are able to split it like that. So there may be 11 people in his class, but only 10 of them can do Taekwondo. So how can you use it is the question, isn't it? Let's think about this. Let's say you've got a task that you want them to do, project-based learning. You want them to I don't know, work together to create a storybook. But you might have 2 or 3 different options. Storybook about football.
Project-based learning.
There you go. A storybook about football, storybook about making a cup of coffee, storybook about learning English verbs. I know which one.
Loves PBL.
Good. I love PBL too. So you can give them that choice. First 3 come to football. The second 3 get the cup of coffee. And
Say something.
yes, Mala.
Like in my case, I'm dealing with 16 and 17-year-olds, supposedly very mature students. Problem with them is that, well, I would say I don't have much parent support in the sense that I will get text messages from my students, supposedly during my online classes, saying that they're in the middle of the market. They're in market buying stuff for their parents. And I asked them, do your parents know that they have parents know?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's a challenge.
yeah, it is a challenge because it seems that I can't blame the parents either, because probably they don't have other older kids to go get stuff for them. But I feel that parents should be responsible in the sense that the timetables have already been given to them, and they should try and get their children as much as possible to.
Okay, let's take this as a very good example to start with. So they've got the timetable, the parents got the timetable, they've been emailed it or whatever, or they've got the physical copy. Do you think that them looking at that timetable and then thinking, right, oh, I've got to make sure that my son's in that class, that, okay, you know what, it's too hard, I'm not going to do it.
Oh no,
already that you may have lost them.
We just send them one whereby it's free. It's very simple. It's like Bahasa Malaysia, what time? On Monday, right?
Yeah, no, I understand, but the parent, to make sure the child is in every single class, that's hard. That's a very big challenge usually that's the school's responsibility. And now the responsibility is on the parent. So already that's hard and they will switch off. So why don't we focus on one class first? Let's get them to attend just one class per week or whatever it is. Reduce our expectations and then communicate that to the parent. So we know it's hard. We know that life is tough at the minute, but your child still needs to learn. Can you please commit to sending them to one class per week and get them to say, yes, I'll do that. There's your public commitment.
Tindakan sekolah sudah isi kah? Tindakan sekolah isi. Oh, isi.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that bit.
No, many of my students, they actually have part-time jobs. So they will be at their workplace when lessons are supposed to be held. That's also a bit difficult, especially my classes, it's not the good ones. It's probably the average to the weaker ones. They always end up going for these jobs. So they will be looking for jobs, they will be working. When you ask them, is it to support your family? No. The beauty of it is not because they want to support their family.
Do their parents know that's what they're doing?
Yes, yes, yes,
They do know.
yes, because I text them on WhatsApp and yeah.
Okay, so this is a great opportunity to try and break down the complex goal of the whole of your education. Because what we're saying is this affects your whole future. Oh, that's too hard to think about. I don't want to think about that. So let's break it down, make it easy. Please get them commit to one lesson per week.
Mhm.
I'm sure you can find something to get a public commitment from the student and from the teacher.
They are committed in the sense that
sorry,
they do their work, but it's offline. After that, then they do post back their work. I'm not saying that they're not doing their work. It's just that it's difficult for me to get them online at the right time.
Okay. Yeah. So this is we've got a question that kind of ties into that as well. I'm going to answer the community in rural areas first who don't have network connections. So these ideas are not just through technology. It's communication in general. This is human behavioral psychology. So, psychology came first and then technology is just our medium for communicating. So if you, how are you currently communicating with these parents in rural communities? So still using that way of communicating with them, just apply behavioral psychology to it. So the same things apply. If there are parents who are illiterate, how would you approach this? You can do this in verbal communication as well. So how are you currently communicating with these illiterate parents? Obviously it has to be with the spoken word, or maybe you're getting their neighbors to communicate for them. But if you're doing it through the spoken word, this is an example. You speak to the parents on the phone and you say, we notice your son isn't coming to class. Can you commit to sending them to one class per week? Get them to say yes, and then you've already started with this kind of process, right? So we have to be flexible in the way that we're thinking about using these tools. They are psychology tools. They work in no matter what form of communication, technology, verbal, face-to-face, on the phone, it works the same. There was another question. I'm teaching in a rural school and I only have 2 pupils for my year 1 class. One of them only attended school for 2 days since she transferred to our school. Mother insisted that her child has superstitious powers and refuses to help her child in fear that she'll be harmed. Any ideas how to help her? Right, okay, so I read a very interesting case study the other day about these similar kinds of ideas. I'm sure that the mother is new to the area, is that right? No, so the mother is part of a community, and she's a very deep, strong part of that community, I'm assuming. Okay, good. That's a very good thing, because I'm sure there are other children